What's going on, guys? This is Dave from Otaku, and today we're going to talk about the JCAT. So I just took the JCAT last night. I didn't take it this morning, but that's okay. And I kind of had like a fairly good experience with it, and I want to talk to you guys about it. So first of all, what is the JCAT? The JCAT is a online test that you can take. It's called the Japanese Computerized Adaptive Test. It is kind of like an online-ish equivalent of the JLPT, and it's completely free. So anybody can take it whenever they want in their Japanese learning career. So the JCAT is, you don't sign up for different levels like you would with the JLPT. You don't sign up for like N5, N4, N3. It basically is an adaptive test, and it assesses your score based on how you answer questions. It makes the questions easier or harder to determine where it thinks you are as far as level goes. And it gives you a number-based answer, and that answer will tell you what your score is. It'll give you an idea of whether or not you're like, oh, you're intermediate, or you're beginner, or you're advanced, or you're somewhere in between. And it gives you your number value based on all the questions you answered, and kind of like puts you in a bracket. This bracket right here, I should put it right here, right? Or somewhere, maybe it's here, maybe it's here. Basically, this shows you like, okay, this would be the equivalent of, you know, if you got this score, you would be the equivalent of a JLPT, you know, N2. And it's, some people have, you know, some arguments as to whether or not how good of an assessment it is, but generally the community believes that it's a fairly good assessment of your skills. Personally, and I'll get into it a little bit more, I would argue that if you're not at like an N4 level, at least, then taking this, you know, might be a waste of your time. So this is probably like a post N5 thing, though I guess there's no reason why you couldn't take it at N5. So before we get into that, just real quick, how I've been studying to where I've gotten here. So I've only been studying Japanese seriously for about 6 months, a little bit more now, like 6 months, 6.5 months. And I've been using the Let's Learn Japanese, MIA approach on how to learn Japanese. But I'm also a busy ass adult. I'm active duty military, and I have a wife, and yeah, you know, I keep a life outside of this. I'm not an introvert, I'm an extrovert for the most part. So, you know, that normal MIA AJAT, lock yourself in your room and don't be seen thing doesn't work for me too well. But yeah, and I've mostly been using Take Him and the JLPT Tango books. If you guys want to know more about that, check out the links, check out my other videos. Anyways, so let's talk about the JCAT, let's talk about setting it up, and then my opinion about it, and then we'll go over my score. So setup, you have to use Internet Explorer, or I had to use Internet Explorer. I tried using Chrome and it wouldn't work. It was like, oh, you don't have a Flash Player extension. I was like, doesn't Chrome have Flash Player? But whatever. So you set it up in Internet Explorer. I don't know what you do on a Mac, so this is gonna be PC based. I'm sorry, I don't have a Mac, so I can't tell you. And then the JLPT will, or the JCAT rather, will send you your password. Password takes like 3 days to come though, and it warns you that's gonna take a couple of days, and I assume that that's 3 business days. I don't think they do anything over the weekend. When you get the password, it's probably gonna end up in your trash folder. I was like, it's been like 4 or 5 days and the password hasn't showed up. And then Nuke Marine was like, did you check your trash folder? And I was like, oh. Yep, that's where it was. Cool. So make sure you're checking your trash folders, maybe it's there. When you are taking the test physically, just a little disclaimer, you cannot hit Alt-Tab. I didn't try to Alt-Tab out of the test during the test, but I did try to at the end once I hit enter, because I wanted to like record my score results, or I wanted to like, you know, do like a snipping tool thing for it, and it closed the window on me. Thankfully, when I hit like open test again, it opened back up to the same exact spot. I didn't have to retake it or anything, but I don't know how that would react if you were in the middle of the test. I think it's probably to keep people from cheating, which makes sense. Cool. Yeah, and then that's about it for like the setup stuff. So we can go over my score now, maybe? Yeah, so my score should be displayed somewhere, anywhere. Cool. And this is gonna be like the breakdown of how well I did. And as you can see, it was fairly consistent except for grammar. So it's pretty rough, right? So in total, I got a 164, which is definitely better than I expected. So I'm on the JLPT Tango N4 book right now. I'm, you know, in chapter 3 or so. I've been working on it daily. I add 30 new cards a day, which is about 15 to 20 new words. Yeah, so I don't quite know how I got this score, but I have some assumptions. So you can see I got a 41 for listening, a 45 for vocab, a 26 for grammar, and a 52 for reading. So about the test, very happy with my score, by the way. I never thought I would get above a 150, but whatever, it's cool. I didn't like prep for this way, but so the test is hard. Like, I found that the test was very hard because it's an adaptive test. If you get a question wrong, the next question will automatically be easier. And then if you get a question right, the next question will be automatically harder. And I could tell which ones my level were at just by like listening to what the audio was or looking at the passage, like the size of it. You could tell that the harder audio questions, like the listening questions, always had like background noise and stuff, and they were always talking a little bit faster and a little more slurred and a little less proper. And the easier ones were like, this man is talking to this woman. What color is this man's shirt? You know, something like that. And they kind of prep you for what your question's gonna be, but just be ready for that. And same with the reading passages, like you'll just get a chunk of text, and it might be a chunk that's like this size, and it might be a chunk that's like the whole page. And that's how you know if you got the last question right or wrong. But I thought it was a hard test. Mixing the levels like that makes it much more difficult because you look at something and you're just like, oh man, there's no way I can read this. But you scan it and you do your best, and like, yeah. So I feel I did better on the test than I would have if it wasn't for my kanji knowledge. So there were some harder reading passages. I think one of the reasons why I got a better score in reading was because I did all of RTK already in the beginning of my like studying, and yeah. So I think that having that kanji knowledge helped me a lot in the reading section, because there were some parts of the reading section where I couldn't read the words necessarily, but I could still understand what the passage was saying because I understood the kanji, and I still understood some of the grammar that was going on between, right? So there, you know, if they were talking about a burning building or something like that, I could still, whether or not I knew some of the kanji that they were talking about areas and stuff, I could still kind of make out what the answers were, and then what the actual question or like the reading passage said. And that was actually kind of a technique I used. I read all my answers to my questions first, and then I went back and read the bulk of the passage. And that's actually a test taking technique that people should use no matter what. Anyways, moving on. So I don't think I'm actually at an N3 level. Maybe my kanji is actually more like an N2 level because I did all 2,200. But I would say I'm probably like a mid N4 level, maybe high N4 if I were being nice. Yeah. So as you can obviously see though, I tanked grammar. I don't fully know why that is. My guess would be is I just didn't know what the heck they were talking about at the time. The grammar questions were like a sentence, and then there would be a blank, and it would be like, okay, what belongs in this blank? And because of the way I've been learning, mostly through immersion and stuff like that, I was only answering that question with, okay, well, what sounds right to me? So I would just read the whole sentence and then put in the word in the blank and see if it filled. And clearly, I need to spend some more time just sitting down, reading Take It, or another grammar guide or something like that, just to increase my grammar. But just know that section is actually pretty difficult, and it's not just like, oh, it's the to particle. Like, no, it's, you know, they're actually putting in like little grammatical phrases and stuff. So be ready for that. There is no English on the test. It's an important thing to point out. The only English that you'll see the entire test is at the very beginning. It's gonna give you some assessment questions, and it's gonna ask you, where do you think your level is with this, with this, with this, with this? Can you have a simple conversation? It's gonna be, no, it's very hard for me, yes, but with some struggling, and then just yes. And I went through all of those, and there was only a very few that I was just like, yes. And it was like, can you introduce yourself? And I was like, yes, I can introduce myself. It's not a struggle. But yeah, there is no speaking on this test though. So yeah. I do want to like go back and mention how extremely adaptive this test is, because it was insane. I've taken some other tests before that were adaptive in the past, and they were just as adaptive as this one. But I also have pretty much had the same reaction. Like, you could immediately tell if you got a question right or wrong. So be ready for that if you're gonna take the JCAT. Yeah. And then I was surprised with how few questions there actually were in total. I think each section had somewhere like between 10 and 15 questions maybe. While it still took me almost an hour to do the test, I would say like 45 minutes to an hour, each section was actually kind of short, but they give you about 2 minutes for the listening question and for the reading questions, and then for the grammar questions and the vocab questions, it was quick. It was just boom, 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 boom. Some of the vocab questions, by the way, I didn't cover this yet, were more like kanji questions. Because like it would give you the word, and then one of the answers would be like what it would be if it was written in kanji. You know, so like I remember like one of them was like to run away looking good, and it wrote it in hiragana, and then I had to figure out the kanji equivalent. So that's where they get the kanji knowledge, I guess, also within the reading. The reading too, some of the sections had furigana, and if you did well, then they take away the furigana and they give you a larger passage. Okay, so be ready for that too. Yeah. The test is in order of the categories, so the first section that you're going to do is the listening section, which I actually wasn't mentally ready for. I don't know why. The next section was vocab and grammar and then reading. Yeah, and you do get to take breaks in between, so like say you're taking the test and you're like, oh no, I gotta go to the bathroom. You can get up and go in between each test section. And like I said, each test section is like 10, 15 questions or so. I think there might be more if you're doing better, and less if you're doing worse. I can't tell, I'm assuming. That's usually how most adaptive tests work. So overall, how do I feel like the test was? I feel like it's a great assessment. I will say, you know, warning, I have never taken the JLPT. This is my first Japanese test ever, aside from like when I very first tried to learn Japanese and did like Genki. I did like the, you know, exercises in the book and stuff, but this is the first I've ever actually tried to test my Japanese aside from just reading native materials and watching like animes and dramas. And even still, I feel like it was a really good assessment. I know that a lot of colleges now and some jobs even accept the JCAT to kind of make an assessment as to where your level is. A lot of colleges actually require it, I've heard. And I see why. It's definitely a way to tell where somebody's knowledge is and their survivability, you know? So like if you can get through parts of this, it's a good indicator that you would survive with, you know, communication in Japan or with a Japanese person. So yeah, I guess that's gonna be it for today. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and hit me up below. I'll have a bunch of links in the description. And yeah, thank you very much for watching my video. I know this was not like my typical like update. This was more of like a review. But I hope this helps, and I hope this helps people kind of like get their own Japanese stuff together. And as always, if you guys have any recommendations for me, please let me know. Obviously I need to improve on grammar, so if you got anything for that, let me know. And yeah, I guess I'll catch you guys next time. I'll probably do another video in a little while. But all right, later.